Welcome back to my channel. This is Life with Toppa, and today we're going to be talking about how Jamaicans dominate the streets of Washington D.C. You know, back in the days, from the late 80s all the way in the 90s, if you want weed to buy, you had to buy it from the Jamaicans in Washington D.C. and you had to go uptown to buy it from them. You couldn't get weed from nobody in Washington D.C. unless you got it from the Jamaicans. That's a fact. Anybody that was hustling in the streets back in the days, they'd tell you that if you wanted drugs to buy, which is weed, you had to go uptown and you had to get it from the Jamaicans, or they had to come meet you wherever you're going to meet you at and sell it to you. But if you wanted weed, you had to get it from the Jamaicans. You know, the Jamaicans, they started out on Georgia Avenue, and then they left from Georgia Avenue, they went on 14th Street, and they left from 14th Street, went back to Kennedy Street, and then from Kennedy Street, they went back on Georgia Avenue in a little park. That's where I really started to hustle at. One of the things that happened to me when I was started hustling in that specific spot, I went out there for the first time, for the first week, and I was hustling, and police came from the 4th District, and everybody took off running. And I left my package because I stashed my package in the park, so I took off running too. When I came back to the scene after the police left, or whatever the case may be, my package was gone. So I'm like, is these dudes really serious? They really stole my shit. I wasn't taking no losses. So therefore, I was determined to find out who took my package. Most definitely, I was definitely determined to find out who took my stash. Anyway, what I did my investigation and I came up with 2 suspects. So now I'm on these streets looking for these 2 suspects, and I'm gonna find one of them. I'm gonna find the next one, which I'm gonna get into that later. I'm gonna break that down for y'all. I was driving one day on Georgia Avenue, me and my man, and I spot the dude that his name was coming up as one of the dudes who took my shit. And he was going through the alley. I bust around there, pull up on him, pull out the whip out the thing on him, and put him in my trunk. Jump out, put him in my trunk, took off. I drive him all the way to Maryland. The whole time I was driving him to Maryland, he was crying. He done shit on himself. He done pissed on himself. You know, telling me, man, on his mother, he didn't took it. On his grandmother, he was swearing to everybody in his family that he didn't took it. But I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to know where my shit was at. But anyway, I brought him to Maryland. Get him stripping butt naked. Put him on a tree, tie him up. And I did my best. I basically told a whole bunch of different dudes, man, come take some licks off this dude, man, because he gonna make me know where my shit at. I said, I want my shit. My shit just not gonna be disappeared just like that. Anyway, he got so much lit while he was tied up around that tree, he actually got away because the rope got loose and he took off in the bushes butt ass naked. Butt ass naked. He run in the bushes butt ass naked and took off running. Anyway, I was on Kennedy Street one day. His mother pulled up on me and like, man, what you and my son got going on? I'm like, what you talking about? Now I don't know what you talking about. So I just denied the whole fact that me and her son got something going on. So she just left it at that and left me. But anyway, make a long story short, this individual, I ended up running to the same individual while I was locked up in the D.C. jail. When I first went into D.C. jail, the first block I went into, I seen this individual. And when he seen me, his eyes got big because I never seen him back after that incident. Anyway, by the time it was lockdown time when I got there, so I'm saying to myself, damn, I gotta get me a knife real quick because this dude is already in the block. And he seen me, so I know he got to be able to get a knife or something because he been on in this unit before me. So therefore, I got to get me a knife before he get to me. So the whole time when I was going to the cell and getting locked down, I was preparing for war the next morning because I'm not letting nobody get out on me. So I done find a way to make me a knife and everything. I was up all night making a knife. But anyway, I made a knife. Out of toothbrush. I made a whole entire knife. But anyway, in the morning when I came out of the cell, and I went straight look for that dude. I went straight to his cell where he was at and everything, looking for him. So when I went to his cell, he said he see me looking in there, so he said, "Hey man, like, you looking for dude? Dude checked in." I said, "He what?" "He checked in." I said, "Oh." So he went on and got out of there. Checked in mean that, he went into protective custody. He didn't want to be in the block with me because he know I'm going to butcher him. So therefore, he just went on ahead and took with himself anyway. But the next individual that was a suspect who took my shit, that was his name keep coming up, he was a government informer. I'm glad I didn't even catch up with this dude, because if I had basically did anything to this dude was a government informer, which I didn't even know. And when you tampering with a government informer, it's something serious right there, because you can catch a charge from that. A lot of people don't even know that. When a dude becomes a government informer, the Supreme Court have labeled these individuals as agents of the state. Meaning that if you touch one of these individuals like touching a police officer, a lot of dudes running around don't know that. Anytime you touch an individual that's a government informer, it's like you touch an agent. And they're going to carry it as such as like you touch an agent for real, because he's an agent, he's a government informer. You cooperate with the government. But anyway, the games this dude was playing, he was playing with police and all these things, and they found him in his house, hanging from somewhere in his house. Like he hanged himself, but it was a whole lot of stories going on in the street about this dude, but this dude was a cold-blooded rat. But that's what's one of the situations that happened to me in D.C. when I was hustling on Georgia Avenue and getting it how I live. And at the same time, as I say, if you wanted weed back then, you had to come to the Jamaicans uptown. Whether you was going on Georgia Avenue, or you was going on Kennedy Street, or whether we was on 14th Street, you had to get it from the Jamaicans. There's no way around. You couldn't go around us. Jamaicans control the weed business in the whole District of Columbia, from the whole DMA, the whole DMV, I mean. They control the whole thing. So therefore, if you wanted weed to buy, you had to come uptown. Anybody in DC will tell you that that's what it was. And I could stand on it, because that's exactly what it was. Anybody who wanted weed to buy, they had to go to the Jamaicans. You couldn't really get weed from other people like that, like weight weed. You had to go to the Jamaicans. They're the one who control the drug trade when it comes to weed in Washington, D.C. in the late 80s and the 90s. Probably before that too, but from the late 80s to the 90s, all the way to the 2000s, Jamaicans. They control the weed business in D.C. If you wanted weed, you had to go through them. And that's a fact. And that's just one of the stories, man, about the streets of Washington, D.C. that I'm sharing with y'all today. I have plenty more stories to share. And if you like this video, make sure you hit the thumb button, like, subscribe, and keep following this movement. Toppa Black Flag, chop, chop, chop. Check out all the ebooks I got out. And also, check out the Old Left the Walls Could Talk. It's be out real soon, and the documentary as well, and the book also called Knockers, that's dealing with the streets of Washington D.C. Make sure you look out for those things as well. Chop, chop, chop. You know what it is.